This isn't the one I ordered. Oh, you got the heavy one.
This isn't the one I ordered, the cowboy whispered, and the sheriff laughed. Oh, you got the heavy one. The boarding house parlor smelled of starch, perfume, and fear. Did you hear? Catherine Morgan ran off in the night, one whispered. With the traveling salesman, another giggled. Left the rancher waiting like a fool. Marcus Thorne. The rich one up in Coldwater Ridge. Paid the broker in advance. Guess he'll want a refund. Or a replacement. Laughter rippled through the room like fire catching straw. Everyone knew Marcus Thorne's name. The man who turned rock and dust into the largest cattle spread for miles. They said he once broke a bronc with his bare hands and never raised his voice again afterward because he didn't need to. Men feared him. Women avoided his eyes. The angry rancher. The silent one. The man nobody crossed twice. And now he was waiting for a bride who had run away. What'll he do when she doesn't show? Send for another, someone murmured. A cruel little grin. Maybe Barton will send one of us. The laughter turned toward the corner. Iris Hale sat there, folding linen napkins, pretending not to listen. Her shoulders rounded as if she could make herself smaller. She'd learned long ago that laughter could be sharper than knives. She still owes the broker rent, doesn't she? For weeks, came the answer. Then she's perfect. The door opened before Iris could speak. Mr. Barton, the broker, stepped inside. His suit was too fine for the room. His smile too sharp. Ladies, he said. I need Iris Hale. The room went silent. Iris's hands froze on the napkin. Now please. She stood slowly, her legs unsteady. Every eye in the room followed her as she walked toward him. Barton grabbed her arm and pulled her into the hallway. Pack your things. You're leaving in an hour. Iris blinked. Leaving? I've got a rancher waiting for a bride. Catherine ran off. You're going instead. Her stomach dropped. I'm not a bride. I work here. You owe me 4 weeks' rent. Plus board. Plus the dress I bought you for work. That's $70. I don't have. I know. So you're going to Coldwater Ridge. You'll marry Marcus Thorne. That settles your debt. But he doesn't want me. He wants a bride. I'm giving him one. Contract's already signed. Stage leaves in an hour. Be ready. Iris's throat closed. Please. I can work. I'll pay you back. Barton's smile vanished. You've been here 3 years, Iris. Nobody wants to marry you. Nobody will. This is the only offer you're ever going to get. The words cut deep. He released her arm. 1 hour. Don't make me come looking for you. He walked out. Iris stood in the hallway, her world collapsing. The other girls appeared in the doorway, their faces a mix of pity and relief. Guess you're getting married after all, one said. To the angry rancher, another whispered. Better you than me. They disappeared, leaving Iris alone. She climbed the stairs to the attic where she slept. A narrow bed. A single trunk. Nothing else. Her parents had died when she was 15. Fever. Both within a week. She'd come to the boarding house because she had nowhere else to go. Worked as a maid. Scrubbed floors. Cooked meals. Endured mockery. Move faster, Iris. You're blocking the whole hallway. Can't you do anything without making noise? No wonder nobody wants to marry you. 3 years of that. And now she was being sent away. Traded to settle a debt. She packed quickly. 1 dress. A shawl. A small Bible her mother had given her. The stage was waiting outside. Barton handed her up without ceremony. Sheriff Wade's expecting you. He'll make sure Thorne follows through. The stage rolled away. Iris stared out the window as the boarding house disappeared. She'd been unwanted her whole life. But this felt different. This felt like the end. 3 days later, the stage rolled into Coldwater Ridge. Iris climbed down, her legs stiff, her heart pounding. The town was small. A handful of buildings and too many watching eyes. Sheriff Wade stood outside his office, arms crossed. "You the bride?" Iris nodded. "Thorne's waiting at the land office. Come on." She followed him down the street, feeling every stare, every whisper. The land office was small. And standing inside, his back to the door, was Marcus Thorne. Broad-shouldered, his presence filling the room. The sheriff cleared his throat. "Thorne, your bride's here." Marcus turned. His eyes swept over Iris once. Then his jaw tightened. "This isn't the one I ordered." The words hit like a fist. Sheriff Wade grinned. Catherine ran off. "Barton sent this one instead." Marcus's voice dropped dangerously low. "I paid for Catherine." "You paid for a bride," the sheriff corrected. "Contract says bride delivered by month's end. Here she is." Marcus stared at Iris. Cold. Assessing. She wanted to disappear. "She's not what I—" "Oh, you got the heavy one." The sheriff laughed, slapping his knee. "That's rich. Barton must have figured one woman's as good as another if you're desperate enough." Iris's face burned. Marcus's fists clenched. "Get out, Wade." The sheriff's laughter faded. "Just having a bit of fun." "Out." The sheriff left, still chuckling. Silence filled the room. Marcus turned to Iris. "You know about this?" Her voice shook. "The broker said I had to come. Or he'd have me arrested for debt." "So you're here because you had no choice?" "Yes." Marcus exhaled sharply. "Neither of us wanted this. But the contract's paid. And I'm not chasing Barton for my money back." He walked to the door. "Get in the wagon. You'll work the ranch. That's the arrangement." "And the marriage?" Marcus looked back, his eyes hard. "I'm not marrying someone I didn't choose. You'll work. When your debt's settled, you're free to go." He walked out. Iris stood alone in the empty office, traded like livestock, delivered to a man who didn't want her. Now she was trapped. She followed Marcus to the wagon. They rode in silence as the town faded behind them. The ranch appeared, large, isolated, beautiful, and cold. Marcus stopped. "Your room's off the kitchen. Work starts at dawn." He didn't help her down, just walked to the barn. Iris climbed down alone, staring at the house that felt like a prison. "Please, God," she whispered, "let me survive this." No answer. Only the sound of Marcus's boots, heavy, final. Two strangers bound by a contract neither wanted, and a future neither could see. Dawn came cold. Iris woke to silence. The house was empty, but she could hear movement outside. She dressed quickly and found the kitchen. Simple. Functional. No warmth. She made coffee, fried eggs, baked biscuits. By the time Marcus appeared, breakfast was ready. He sat without a word. Ate without looking at her. Stalls need mucking. Feeds in the barn. He left. Iris washed the dishes, her hands shaking. Then she stepped outside. The ranch stretched endlessly. Barns. Corrals. Fences disappearing into the hills. She found the stalls. The smell hit her first. Manure. Sweat. She grabbed a pitchfork. Her arms screamed within minutes. Blisters formed. Her back ached. But she didn't stop. By noon, 3 stalls gleamed. Marcus appeared in the doorway. Silent. Watching. He walked through, checking her work. Said nothing. Just left. That became the pattern. Days of brutal work. Nights of exhausted silence. Iris cooked every meal. Scrubbed every floor. Hauled every bucket. Marcus barely spoke. Just gave orders and disappeared. But she noticed things. He worked harder than anyone she'd ever seen. Up before dawn. Working past sunset. The ranch was his life. And he ran it alone. One afternoon, Iris was hauling a water bucket from the well. It was heavier than she expected. Her arms trembled. She stumbled. The bucket tipped. Water spilled. Iris gasped, dropping to her knees. Boots appeared. Marcus. She braced for anger. But he crouched down, took the bucket, and walked back to the well without a word. He filled it, carried it to the trough, set it down, then walked away. Iris stared after him, stunned. That evening she found work gloves on her bed. Sturdy, protective. No note. No words. But she understood. He'd seen her bleeding hands. And he'd done something about it. A week passed. The work never eased, but Iris grew stronger. Her hands toughened. Her body adapted. One morning she was scrubbing the kitchen floor. On her hands and knees. Bucket beside her. The floor gleaming. She sat back, admiring her work. It was heavy, muddy. Marcus walked in, tracking dirt across the entire floor. Iris froze. He grabbed something from the counter and turned to leave. I just cleaned that, she said quietly. Marcus stopped. Looked down. Looked at her. Then clean it again. He walked out, leaving more mud. Iris stared at the ruined floor. Then, despite everything, a tiny smile tugged at her lips. Unbelievable. She grabbed the brush and started over. 2 weeks in, the ranch hands came by to deliver supplies. 3 men. But they saw Iris carrying firewood and one laughed. That the bride Thorne ordered? Poor bastard. Heard he paid triple. For that? Iris's face burned. She kept walking. Marcus appeared from the barn, his face like stone. You're done here. Leave. The men blinked. We just got here. I said leave. His voice was quiet, deadly. The men climbed onto their wagon and rode off. Marcus didn't look at Iris. Just walked back to the barn. But she'd heard him. He'd defended her. That night, Marcus came in for supper. Iris served stew and fresh bread. He ate in silence. But when he finished, he paused. Good meal. 2 words. But they felt like sunlight. Iris nodded, her throat tight. Marcus stood. You work hard. He left before she could respond. Iris sat at the table, staring at his empty plate. You work hard. Not much. But for a man like Marcus Thorne, it was everything. 3 weeks in, Iris had found a rhythm. The work was still brutal. But she no longer felt like she was drowning. She belonged here now. Not as a bride. Not as a wife. But as someone who mattered. And that was enough. For now. The flour sack tore without warning, spilling its contents in a sudden white cloud. Iris had barely reached for it when flour burst across the pantry, coating her hair, her dress, even her eyelashes. For a moment she stood there in silence, surrounded by drifting powder that made the whole room look like a snowstorm. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. Marcus appeared in the doorway, mid-sentence. I need the... He stopped, eyes catching on her. For a second he seemed about to move on, but something made him hesitate. His gaze softened just a little, confusion flickering into something almost like amusement. What happened? He asked finally. It broke, Iris said, trying to brush the flour from her face. I can see that. He reached for a towel and handed it to her. She took it, feeling clumsy, embarrassed. He watched her for a moment, then shook his head with the faintest trace of a smile. You look like you lost a fight with a bakery. I feel like it, she replied, and to her surprise, his smile deepened, small, fleeting, but genuine. It changed his face. For a moment, the harsh lines she had come to know so well eased, and she saw the man he might have been before bitterness set in. Then the moment passed. Marcus cleared his throat, murmured something about fetching another sack, and walked away. But Iris couldn't forget that look. That smile. It stayed with her through the evening as dark clouds gathered and the air turned heavy with the promise of rain. Marcus was outside securing the barn when the storm broke. From the kitchen window she watched him move through the wind, his lantern a pale glow in the growing dark. Then came a sharp crack. The barn door had come loose, swinging wildly in the gusts. Without thinking, Iris grabbed her shawl and ran into the storm. Rain stung her skin, soaking her within seconds, but she reached the door and tried to pull it closed. The wind fought her, tearing at her hands. Suddenly, stronger hands covered hers. Marcus was there beside her, his voice lost beneath the roar of the wind. Together they dragged the heavy door into place and forced the latch down. They stood there for a moment in the dim barn, breathing hard, water dripping from their clothes while thunder rolled overhead. "I told you to stay inside," Marcus said, his voice rough. "The door was breaking," she answered, shivering. "You could have been hurt." "So could you?" He looked at her then, really looked, his jaw tight, his expression unreadable. She expected anger, but it didn't come. What she saw instead was something far quieter, something he didn't quite know how to show. "You're stubborn," he said softly. "I've been called worse." A ghost of a smile crossed his lips, brief but undeniable. The storm raged outside, but in that moment, the air between them felt strangely warm. He stepped back, his tone returning to its usual gruffness. "Go change before you catch cold." Then he left her standing there, heart pounding harder than before. Later, when the storm had passed, she found him on the porch, watching the stars return through the thinning clouds. For a while neither spoke. Then Marcus said quietly, "I had a wife once. And a daughter." Iris turned toward him. He didn't look at her, just kept his eyes on the horizon. "Fever took them both. 3 years ago. I built this ranch for them. Every board, every fence. After they were gone, it was easier not to have anyone here." His voice was steady, but beneath it was a grief she could feel. He drew in a slow breath. "Then you showed up. And I was angry, because you weren't part of the plan." "I know," she said. "But you worked. You stayed. You didn't quit." He looked at her then, his expression unreadable. "You weren't the wrong choice, Iris. Just the unexpected one." Her throat tightened. "I'm not her," she whispered. "I can't be." "I know," he said quietly. "Maybe that's why it matters." They stood together in the fading light, not touching, but closer than they'd ever been. Marcus cleared his throat. "Good night, Iris." "Good night, Marcus." He walked away, and for the first time, when he said her name, it didn't sound like a burden. It sounded like a beginning. For weeks had passed since Iris arrived. The ranch had changed. The garden bloomed. The house felt warmer. Even Marcus seemed different, less cold, more present. Iris allowed herself to hope. Then Catherine came. It was a Tuesday morning when the carriage rolled up. Iris was hanging laundry when she heard voices. She turned. A beautiful woman stepped out of the carriage. Dark-haired, wearing a traveling dress that probably cost more than Iris had earned in a year. Behind her, a well-dressed man climbed down. Her father. Marcus emerged from the barn, his face unreadable. "Catherine," he said flatly. "Marcus." She smiled, walking toward him. "I know I'm late, but I'm here now, ready to honor our agreement." Iris's stomach dropped. This was her. The bride Marcus had paid for. The one he'd actually wanted. Catherine's father stepped forward. "My daughter had some hesitations. But she's worked through them. She's ready to be your wife now. Marcus's jaw tightened. That arrangement is over. Catherine's smile faltered. But you paid. And the broker sent a replacement. The contract's fulfilled. Catherine's eyes flicked to Iris for the first time. Her expression shifted. Surprise. Then something colder. You kept the replacement? She works here. Yes. But now I'm here. The woman you actually chose. The words cut deep. Marcus glanced at Iris. She saw something in his eyes. Conflict, maybe guilt. Catherine stepped closer to him. I made a mistake leaving. But I'm here now. We can start fresh. Her father added, my daughter comes with a substantial dowry. And resources. This could benefit your ranch greatly. Iris felt the ground shifting beneath her. She was just the replacement. The mistake. The woman no one wanted. But Catherine was the choice. The plan. The woman Marcus had paid for. She turned and walked back toward the house, her chest tight. Behind her, she heard Marcus say, I need time to think. That night, Iris lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Marcus hadn't defended her. Hadn't told Catherine to leave. He was considering it. Of course he was. Catherine was beautiful. Connected. Everything Iris wasn't. The next day, the town buzzed with gossip. Iris went to the general store for supplies. Women whispered loudly enough for her to hear. Catherine's back. Finally. Poor thing. Having to compete with that. There's no competition. Marcus will choose Catherine. He'd be a fool not to. Iris kept her head down, paid, and left. That evening, she started packing. She folded her few dresses. Tucked the work gloves Marcus had given her into her bag. Tears blurred her vision, but she blinked them back. She wouldn't cry. Not again. She'd survived worse than this. Footsteps on the porch. The door opened. Marcus stood there, his eyes landing on her bag. What are you doing? Iris didn't look up. Leaving. Why? Because Catherine's here. The woman you wanted. The woman you chose. Marcus stepped inside. I didn't ask her to come. But you're considering it. Iris finally met his eyes. I heard you. You said you needed time to think. Marcus's jaw tightened. I've been unwanted my whole life, Marcus. I won't stay somewhere I have to compete to be seen. You're not competing. Yes, I am. Her voice broke. She's beautiful. Connected. Everything you paid for. And I'm just the replacement who showed up because she had no other choice. Marcus stepped closer. You think that's how I see you? Isn't it? No. His voice was rough. Fierce. When you first arrived, yes. I was angry. I didn't want you here. Iris flinched. But then you stayed. You worked. You didn't complain. You made this place feel like a home again. He reached out, his hand hovering near hers. Catherine is the past. A plan that didn't work out. But you're here. Present. Iris's throat ached. Then why didn't you tell her to leave? Marcus's face tightened. Because I'm a coward. Because part of me is terrified of choosing wrong again. Of losing someone else. His hand finally touched hers. But I'm choosing now. I'm choosing you. If you'll stay. Iris looked at their hands. His rough, scarred. Hers small, trembling. What about Catherine? I'll tell her tomorrow. In front of the whole town if I have to. Iris's breath caught. Marcus stepped closer. Stay, Iris. Please. She looked up into his eyes. Saw the fear there. The hope. And the truth. He meant it. I'll stay, she whispered. Marcus exhaled, his shoulders sagging with relief. He squeezed her hand once, then let go. Thank you. He walked out, leaving Iris standing in the small room. Her bag still sat on the bed. But she wasn't going anywhere. Not anymore. Outside, the night settled over the ranch. And for the first time in weeks, Iris slept soundly. Tomorrow would bring a confrontation. But tonight, she'd been chosen. And that was enough. Morning came bright and clear. Iris woke to find Marcus already gone. A note sat on the kitchen table. Meet me in town at noon. Her stomach twisted. This was it. The moment he'd face Catherine publicly. She dressed carefully, her hands shaking. By 11:30, she was ready. She walked the 2 miles into town, her heart pounding with every step. The town square was busy. Market day. People everywhere. And standing near the church, Catherine, her father, and a small crowd. Iris's steps faltered. Then she saw Marcus. He stood near his wagon, arms crossed, face hard. Waiting. Their eyes met across the square. He nodded once. Iris walked toward him, feeling every stare, every whisper. Catherine saw her and stepped forward, her smile sharp. I suppose we should settle this properly, shouldn't we? Her father cleared his throat. Marcus, you're a reasonable man. My daughter brings resources, connections, a future for your ranch. The crowd murmured. Marcus's jaw tightened. Catherine stepped closer to him. I made a mistake leaving, but I'm here now, willing to be your wife, to give you the life you deserve. She glanced at Iris. Surely you see that I'm the better choice. The words hung in the air. Every eye turned to Marcus. Waiting. He looked at Catherine, then at Iris. And then he stepped away from Catherine and walked to Iris. The crowd gasped. He stood in front of her, his voice carrying across the square. When I ordered a bride, I thought I knew what I wanted. Someone pretty. Someone who'd fit into the life I'd planned. He turned to face the crowd. But life doesn't work that way. The woman I ordered ran. And the broker sent Iris instead. Murmurs spread. Marcus continued, his voice strong. At first, I was angry. She wasn't what I paid for. Wasn't part of the plan. Iris's chest tightened. But then she stayed. She worked harder than anyone I've hired. She didn't complain when the work was brutal. She didn't quit when I was cold. She just endured. He turned back to Iris. She made my ranch a home again. She made me remember what it felt like to care about something other than grief and work. His voice softened. I paid for a fantasy. But Iris gave me something real. Tears slipped down Iris's cheeks. Marcus reached for her hand. I don't want Catherine. I don't want the plan. I want the woman standing in front of me. He dropped to one knee. The crowd went silent. Iris Brennan, will you marry me? Not because of a contract. Not because of debt. But because I choose you. Every day. For the rest of my life. Iris's throat closed. She couldn't speak. So she nodded. And whispered, yes. Marcus stood, pulling her into his arms. The crowd erupted, some applauding, some gasping, some muttering disapproval. But Marcus didn't care. He kissed her in front of everyone. Catherine's face went pale. Her father grabbed her arm, pulling her toward their carriage. This is a mistake, Thorne, he called out. Marcus pulled back, his arm still around Iris. No, he said clearly. The mistake was thinking I could plan love. But love found me anyway. The carriage rolled away. The crowd slowly dispersed, whispers trailing behind them. The preacher stepped forward, smiling. Shall we make this official? Marcus looked at Iris. Today. She laughed through her tears. Today. They married in the church an hour later. Only a handful of people attended. But it didn't matter. When the preacher said, you may kiss your bride, Marcus did. And this time, Iris kissed him back. Not the replacement. Not the mistake. His wife. That evening, they returned to the ranch. Marcus helped her down from the wagon, his hand lingering on hers. "Welcome home, Mrs. Thorne." Iris smiled. It already was home. You just made it official. They stood on the porch, watching the sun set over the land. Marcus pulled her close. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For what?" "For not giving up. For staying. For choosing me back." Iris leaned into him. "Thank you for seeing me." They stood together as the stars began to appear. Two broken people who'd found each other by accident and built something stronger than any plan could have created. Iris had been sent as a replacement, a joke, a mistake, but Marcus made her his choice, his partner, his love, and in the end, that was the only contract that mattered. The one written not in ink and paper, but in endurance, respect, and hearts that refused to stay closed. Forever. If Iris's story touched your heart, please subscribe. And let me know, where are you listening from today? Drop your city or country in the comments. I love knowing you're out there, carrying these stories with you. You are always worth choosing. See you in the next story.